Our Declaration of Independence proclaimed, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form, as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Given the current and emerging realities, growing the middle class will be impossible. That threatens the safety and happiness of millions of Americans. But rebellion, at least as we currently understand it, is no longer an option. The only peaceful way to alter or abolish a destructive, non-representative government is through the ballot box. The right to vote, or our suffrage, is expressed in two forms, political and economic. Political suffrage includes the right to join political parties and vote for political candidates. The founders intended the House of Representatives to be the branch most responsive to the passions of the people. But with the rise of partisan gerrymandering, redistricting to favor the party in control of the process, and electronic voting without paper trails, competitive House elections are becoming virtually obsolete. Only 4 challengers defeated incumbents in the 2002 general elections, a record low, and in the nation's 435 congressional districts, there may be no more than 30 this year where the outcome is truly in doubt. After the 2000 census, Republicans who controlled the Pennsylvania legislature used powerful computers to draw bizarrely shaped districts, which were given names like upside-down Chinese dragon, that maximized Republican voting strength. They paired Democratic incumbents in a single district, so they would have to run against each other and fashion new districts where Republicans would have a comfortable ride. As a result, a state with 500,000 more Democrats than Republicans has a congressional delegation with 12 Republicans and just 7 Democrats. Partisan gerrymandering has taken control of Congress away from the voters and put it in the hands of legislative partisans. It profoundly distorts the political direction of the country. In 4 states that are precisely evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats, Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio and Michigan, Republican legislators drew district lines so that 51 of the 77 seats are Republican, a nearly 2-to-1 edge. Thomas Jefferson advised that elective government is the best permanent corrective of the errors or abuses of those entrusted with power. His faith in democracy was well placed, but for elective government to play this critical role, the elections must be inclusive and fair, and they must use machinery that works. Given the arguments we have already made regarding the ineffectiveness of political voting as a fair and trustworthy avenue for political action, we hold that it is now our economic vote that will make the difference. Our right to vote for or against products and/or corporate policies through boycott, purchase, and proxy is the optimal, legal, and peaceful way for citizen stockholders to own the first American PBC to exercise our will. Nothing seems more central to our economic and political lives than taxes. We fiercely debate raising them, lowering them, how they are spent, and whether they are fair. Taxes, we are told, join only death as the 2 inevitabilities in life. Taxes, and the power to allocate and spend them, are at the root of political and police powers. Fortunately, that has not always been so. We can change the way special interests influence the government and reverse the hijacking of America by moving from a tax to an expense paradigm and morphing into an inclusive citizen stockholder metacorporate model. It's worth noting that many historians contend that the American Revolution was as much about money and wealth as it was about political freedom. The Founding Fathers were determined to avoid colonial representation in British Parliament where their vote would be inconsequential. The Alpha Network has likewise co-opted our government. Turning to Congress for redress of our grievances would be like our founders accepting a few seats in the British Parliament to redress theirs. We cannot look to the political sphere for redress. In 1753, Benjamin Franklin attended a council in Albany, New York with the chiefs of the Iroquois. He wished to deepen his understanding of the principles of the Great Law of the Confederacy, the foundation of its enduring success. Franklin's interest was not an idle one. In 1743, he established the American Philosophical Society to forge a metaphysical basis for the emerging nation. He was very aware of the necessity for unifying the 13 colonies into one union in which both the sovereignty of the colonies and the union of the nation would be cherished and protected. Franklin shared what he learned with his colleagues for their consideration. The success of the Iroquois Confederacy came first from the vision of the Great Peacemaker, a mysterious stranger who, hundreds of years before, convinced their ancestors to cease warring against each other. Second, from the importance women had in co-governing. Third, because consensus was necessary for all decisions affecting the welfare of the people, justice and compassion prevailed. Finally, because key decisions had to benefit the seventh generation to come, the long-term well-being of the people was guaranteed. These principles were universal and extended to all through the clan structure of the Longhouse Common to all the Confederation's member tribes. No precedent existed in the annals of European history. When the Duke of York informed the King of England about the self-governing Iroquois, he reported the Iroquois had a government based on freedom, and that the colonists were being infected by it. The Duke warned the Iroquois would prove to be a threat to the monarchies of the day. 23 years after attending the Iroquois Council, Franklin and his fellows concluded their Declaration of Independence with, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The heart of this platform is realizing the superiority of the transnational corporation above and beyond any national government and its regulations. If we are to protect our American economic, social, and political interests, we must do so by voting with our feet and our money. I believe that the first American PBC is a workable blueprint to share American power and wealth legally, peacefully, and equitably. The PBC may also serve as the model for a global general interest corporation. 250 years ago, our founders introduced a new kind of sovereignty. They replaced the divine right of kings with popular sovereignty. They shared a revolutionary belief in themselves, proclaiming "We the people." 7 generations later, a cohort was born. They suffered in the Great Depression, rallied to a New Deal, became the arsenal of democracy, beat back fascism, and won the Cold War. Remembered as America's greatest generation. We, their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren are being called on to rise to our greatest challenge. Will we unify and defend we the people? Will we choose fascism or freedom? Will we the people dissolve into a brutal dictatorship or become a more perfect union? What will we the people choose to be? It is our turn to become a cohort of founders. We owe it to the 7th generation to come.